Weiter geht's. Wir kommen jetzt zu der abschließenden Keynote der Bizplay und großes Willkommen Dr. Trista Patterson. Trista Patterson hat den Playing for the Planet Report verfasst, eine Initiative, die anlässlich des Klimagipfels 2019 im UN-Hauptquartier die Playing for the Planet Alliance ins Leben gerufen hat. Was ist die Playing for the Planet Alliance? Diese Initiative bringt die größten, einflussreichsten und ökologisch fortschrittlichsten Videospielunternehmen der Welt zusammen, die zusammen über 1 Milliarde Spieler weltweit vertreten. Da hatten wir wieder den schönen Übergang, perfekt, yep. Die Bewegung in die Unternehmen tragen. Warm welcome to Trista Patterson. The floor is yours. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning. It's very early in the morning here in Alaska, but I'm delighted to join you through the wonders of the internet. We have a video queued up for you to get a little introduction to Playing for the Planet.
Today, around 1 in 3 people around the world play video games. It's now the biggest entertainment medium, bar none. From young to old, people are united in play. But what if video games could also help us tackle the biggest environmental challenges of our time? Launched in 2019, the Playing for the Planet Alliance aims to harness the reach and creativity of the video gaming industry to engage and empower their communities around the world. For the first time, the gaming industry has come together to explore how they can encourage players to protect nature and biodiversity through actions in the games themselves. Mobile games that reach 250 million people are now informing players and encouraging them to contribute to reforestation, hosting in-game events to protect wildlife, educating gamers about ecosystems and biodiversity, and showing how communities can come together to tackle local environmental problems. Supported by the United Nations Environment Programme, the initiative has secured commitments from some of the most influential names in the gaming industry to reduce their carbon footprint and take environmental action. Mobile and console companies that are used to competing are now collaborating, sharing experiences and learning from each other. By harnessing the power of video games, we can preserve nature and biodiversity and empower communities to act. We have no time to lose. Together we must play for the planet.
There's a second video. I thought it was more convenient to play it now. Would you like to cue that up as well?
Today, around 1 in 3 people around the world play video games. It's now the biggest.
Working on it. Check. Wir haben ganz tolle experimentelle Situationen hier.
We have a fantastic experimental situation right here. This hybrid format is actually the first time for most of us, so it's completely unique.
Can we play
so
back?
Let's just start with the cover slide there.
All right.
My name's Trista Patterson. I am the co-founder of the Playing for the Planet Alliance, along with many others, and the co-author of the Playing for the Planet report. The Playing for the Planet report was released by Grid Arendal. It's a support unit to UN Environment Program located in Norway. And today I'm going to talk to you about creating change and the systems architecture that is embedded in the effort for Playing for the Planet. One of the first ideas that I thought I would talk to you today about is that we have a big question in front of us, and that is to ask, are you a good ancestor? If we think about it, for the past 100,000 years, Roman Zarnik, who wrote the book, Are You a Good Ancestor, that just came out, reminds us that the past Earth's population has been only 100 billion people, and the current population on the Earth is 7 billion people. If population expansion stabilizes for the next 50,000 years, we have a future population that the Earth will bear of 6.75 trillion people. How is that possible? Because if the Earth's history were compared to a calendar year, modern humans have been around for just 37 minutes, and we've already used up 1/3 of the Earth's resources in the past 0.2 seconds. Vertebrate populations have declined 60% since 1970. 21% of species are threatened with extinction. We've removed half of reefs, 65% of forests, and at this rate, we have 79 years left of rainforest. We have 27 years left of seafood. So I want you to imagine a year in the future where we have all of this solved. Imagine what that looks like. It's difficult, isn't it? We have zero waste. We protected half of the biosphere and its capacity is sustaining us in perpetuity. We're enjoying unprecedented environmental benefits in our lifetimes, and we have the assurance that this will be something that we can pass on to future generations. In order to achieve this, we have to revise our environmental governance as well as informational governance. And we need new disruptive models like gaming in our information systems because the standard information systems are not working for us. They were derived from a standard economic system that was designed to extract value from nature at no cost and discard waste indiscriminately afterwards. Already it's violating the ecological ceiling and eroding our social foundations. And those are represented by the dark green circles in Kate Raworth's donut economics diagram. If you're not familiar, I encourage you to look it up. This presentation talks about the vision of success and our collective intention and the intentional systems architecture that we can design. And to create it, that's where you, the creatives, the sustainers, all come in. It's all hands on deck. And one of the reasons why I'm going to talk about the architecture embedded in the Playing for the Planet system is because the scale of this ambition is simply so vast. And we need all the hands that we can get all the tools we can get our hands on. Gaming represents a huge unturned stone, which is why the Playing for the Planet report was originally written. It was to bring down the cost of environmental information delivery. But with 2.7 billion gamers, $160 billion in revenue, 15 gaming countries. Of the top 15 gaming countries, 5 of them are in the lower middle income. Nigeria alone, that far yellow little dot on the diagram there, has over 30 million gamers. Think about it, there's worldwide influence possible here. And in my research, at first, I thought it was just to bring down cost. It was a communication tool, but now I see that it's far more than that. It's a community, it's a network, it's a driver of consumption, it's a massive conduit of information and data. And to the extent to which gamers and their ecosystems are exhibiting emergent behaviors and self-organizing activity, it's practically a life form unto itself. If we build our information systems right, it's entirely possible that we can govern our consumption systems much more wisely. All of this is totally possible with the technology and information we already have. We're just being completely silly. We need to use it wisely. We can't let information continue to slip through our hands at every single point in the consumption chain. How is it possible that we can be speaking all around the world right now, in Brazil, in Germany, in South Africa, all together, and yet I don't know if the cobalt in my gaming device has been mined by one of 35,000 kids in the Congo? How is that possible? Or if I dispose of my device to a recycling station, how do I know that it won't be burnt in Agbog Bloshi in Ghana, where a single free-range chicken egg will put you 200 times over the legal dioxin levels for a single year? No one wants to be associated with that. And if people knew the provenance of all of the ingredients of their consumption and the destination of their waste and the impacts of their emissions as all of this material is being transited around the planet, there's no doubt that it would radically influence consumption chains, the manufacturers, and the way in which we actually live. All of this would arise because we were able to make more informed decisions aligned with our value systems, and in so doing, be better off. We talk about these things as if they are a sacrifice, the future, all of these things that we're giving up. Actually, think about all of the wonderful things we will gain. Think of all of the beautiful things that we can pass on to the next generation and which we need in our own lifetimes. Gaming is totally different. It's unique. It's unique because it creates feedback loops that aren't normal. Currently, gaming in the state of California consumes as much energy as all of the household refrigerators in that state. Yet there's no energy smart label on them. But when you buy a refrigerator and you put it in your house, you end the consumption relationship with the company. That feedback loop is broken. That is not the case with gaming, and it's not the case with game consoles, especially as we're moving more toward the cloud. It's possible to set up a feedback loop system within which, in our households, in our hands, we are constantly accessing information and interacting with it if we design it that way. So while it's interesting and notable that the Sustainable Development Goals material is appearing in games, this is a graphic from the survey done by PlayMob, and it's printed in the Playing for the Planet report, which is where most of these graphics are coming from. PlayMob did a survey of 214 games, and they found all of this Sustainable Development Goal content. That is wonderful. It's notable, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. The Playing for the Planet report is on the left. You can access it on the website. It's got a lot of resources, and as well, there are growing resources that are available to you as game designers, as game players, as community members, so that you too can contribute toward what is actively being created as the future of gaming and the way in which we harness our information systems to create better lives. The Playing for the Planet Alliance was launched in September of 2019 at the UN General Assembly in New York City for this Climate Action Summit. It includes 22 founding countries. Currently, we're up at about 22 founding companies. Currently, we're at around 30. At the time of launch, we had representation of companies that distribute game material to about 970 million video game players. Currently, we're at about 1 billion. The opportunities there are vast. The technology sector is perfectly positioned to help us construct together this kind of information system. And all it needs is the consumers to express that they need, want, and also enjoy this kind of information. And that's another unique part about gaming, is that it's so playful. It's so fun. It becomes part of our habits and our interactions. It's something that we enjoy to do every day. All of these things orienting around the fun, wonderful, inventive, creative, generative systems is exactly what we need in order to motivate change toward more sustainable systems. So now we get to the big part, because you guys are really where it's at. You are creative, you are interested, you are hooked in, you are able. You are in exactly the right place to make a major difference in the world. And so that's why the rest of this presentation is designed to give you a peek under the hood of what is the systems architecture that has been embedded in much of the Playing for the Planet system. I was reflecting for a moment on the fact that most of my work, most of my most impactful projects have been done on a wing and a prayer. Basically, initiatives that had a zero budget line. In fact, nobody wanted to fund any of them. And so as a consequence, by hook or by crook, me and my collaborators had to find ways to build momentum, gather resources, and find smart leverage points in the system. This presentation is designed to help you also do that in your work so that it can become more impactful, so that you can create more change in the world. The first is a toolkit, and that is systems thinking. Next slide. A system is a set of related components that work together in a particular environment to perform whatever functions are required to achieve a system's objective. So if that sounds like a mouthful, just look at the light blue highlighted terms. Related components working together in an environment, functions, and the objective. What is the objective? And that is a major issue here. The former way of organizing our economies, the objective there has been profit maximization. In the future, our net objective must be the sustaining of humanity on the planet. If we reorient around those goals and if we harness these systems in an intelligent way, we don't have problems. The next set of tools that I'm going to talk about is systems mapping. Systems maps can help you keep track of relationships and systems behavior over time. And there's lots of tools on the internet to do that. This particular diagram, there's a group called Disruptive Design, and they have a whole set of toolkits. Donut Economics has a Donut Action Lab now that has a whole toolkit also of ways in which you can look at relationships and create new futures. The way in which we map these help us track what is embedded, what is connected, what is emergent, and what is feeding back, among many other things. But using systems maps can help us track those. The next diagram, and this one is really important because it helps us understand a bit about how a very small impulse at one part of the system can catalyze an enormous change for the entire rest of the system. And this is a concept of leverage. This is a paper by Donella Meadows written in 1997 called Leverage Points for Change, or Places to Intervene in a System. The system, if you think of kind of a teeter-totter, oftentimes we just think about manipulating things like numbers, increasing parameters, changing constants. So I can change, for example, the thermostat on the wall, but the next person can come right along and change it back. The system hasn't really changed. The further you go out on that teeter-totter, so going to stocks and flow structures, talking about the kinds of feedback loops, changing information flows, modifying systems rules, reorganizing and allowing the system to self-organize, addressing systems goals, changing the paradigm that was used to design the system, or even to the power to shift the paradigm to deal with new challenges, an entire mindset shift. That is what's really catalytic. That is what's really powerful. And in order to actualize on all this, we need a diversity of tools. We need a diversity of ways in which we are creating impact in the system. I'm going to run through a few examples that just shows some of the ways in which I've done this in my past. And so as a consequence, building on the momentum of learnings from those cases, we've built in a much more integral, much more diversified way to actualize the concept of leverage in the Playing for the Planet, initiative, and hopefully in the future, by passing on those tools and also engaging many more people in this effort, we're going to create a whole ripple effect that not only will influence the gaming industry, but it has the potential to actually tip the scales in terms of consumption and, in cooperation with the technology sector, influence our consumption systems worldwide. The first, when I was in graduate school, was what I call the nature paper. My graduate advisor, Bob Costanza, published a paper called The Value of the World's Ecosystem Services, and placing that dollar value at $33 trillion per year. This moved the goalposts, and that's a leverage point there, because traditionally the economy had always been defined in terms of a man-made economy, and that was only valued at $18 trillion per year. This landed like a bomb on both the environmental and the economic systems. It generated the communities, and it generated enormous discussion for all. It's one of the top cited environment and ecology papers in the past 20 years. And it remains so as a place of discussion because it flies in the face of all of this free benefit that we're receiving. The second case is in the Department of Agriculture when we formed the Sustainable operations, where the US government is the largest consumer in the world, $550 billion in the year in goods and services. And by designing scorecards for energy, water, waste, recycling, and sustainability leadership, we were able to influence that consumption system. Similarly, that quantification is currently running into how we're quantifying footprint for Playing for the Planet. The TEEB project, the Economics of Ecosystems and Biodiversity, helps us change the rules and cultivate self-organization. Habits of social media have allowed us to be much more interactive with Playing for the Planet. And then in Playing for the Planet, shifting the loops and shifting the mindset and creating the loops. The shifting the mindset allows us to think of gaming as a mechanism to create impact more broadly in the world. And by doing that, by harnessing the different mechanisms in gaming, whether it's the Green Game Jam or the commitments from the companies or the carbon footprint or the emergence of, say, the IGDA Climate SIG group. So there's a Discord group that's already formed that you can join. All of these resources are available to you on the playingfortheplanet.org website. I would really welcome you to go there and also watch the presentation from GDC on Playing for the Planet to get lots of background about the nuts and bolts of that. If we think about the impact catalysts, what we really need to do, and if we look at all the text on this slide at once, is move from creation and that orange arrow there, from creation to a generative layer, where we're moving from just understanding system structure to a shared vision. And if we go to the final slide, the vision is absolutely the most important place for all of us to be putting energy. It is very, very difficult to create massive worldwide change if we don't think about it in the most possible sense. Meaning we must lift our energy. We must lift also our attitudes, the way in which we're communicating, the joy, the appreciation, the empowerment, the freedom in which we are designing into that. We need to go higher in this list of characteristics, because the more we get into doubt, or fear, or worry, the less we are able to support our vision. We need to all put voices on our vision, and I hope that this presentation has given that to you a bit, at least an inkling of what is possible with gaming as it relates to sustainability challenge, and also some of the resources that are available to you through Playing for the Planet and other networks. I encourage you to join us, and this is my final slide. I encourage you to join us at Playing for the Planet. I hope you will join the IGDA group of game developers. I hope you will join people on the Donut Action Lab, and many, many other groups that are arising to create change in these systems. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Trista, for this very motivating talk, and for this inspiring information about Playing for the Planet. If not the games industry, what other industries could make an impact there? I think that you showed the potential quite well. So thank you very much, and I hope you can join us, our conference, further. Steffen.
Yeah, so we've got a new plan. So Trista, we've run out a bit of time, so we will collect questions for you in the chat, and then we'll forward them to you. So we'd like to encourage everyone to ask questions and to Trista. And Trista, thank you so much. It was really beautiful for us, I think, Ruth, that we had this, I guess, arc, you could say, from someone like Estella, who's very, very passionate about filmmaking, to Trista and her beautiful work in encouraging everyone, really, gamers and game developers alike, and to partake and to be pushing the limits, I'd say. And it's not that difficult, really, if you think about it. Trista has presented superb examples how you, as designers and makers here in the room and online, how you can contribute and make that happen. What we've decided right now is that we'll give you guys here particularly 5 minutes of a break. Would that be okay? Yes. And we'll have a bit of music, and I think it's about time to wrap up the Bizplay portion. We are on a schedule. We're kind of paying tribute to the fact that we're running a hybrid format, online and offline. So please bear with us. This is also a bit of an experiment for us. So tight schedule because there's a lot of people online following. And thanks so much. And Ruth, you've got the last word if you want to.
Thank you very much, Trista. Thank you very much, everybody. We take the 5 minutes break and then we will go on with creatables.
Yes, there you go. All righty.